Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Darren, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know what I'm here to do. I'm here to...
Rah!
Yeah, it's the big 500 week.
Yeah.
Dude, anticipation's growing. We're super excited. We hope you could join us in Vegas. We're really sorry that hotels are insane. I probably shouldn't say that because then people won't come out, but I love being honest with you.
You can find a cheap hotel, though, just to be clear.
You can, but it's kind of crazy. So last time we told you guys we were staying in the Gold Gate. We are not. Where are we staying at the
OYO?
The OYO.
Whatever that
Dave's like, why are you telling people we were saying, hey, man,
Come
Swarm's
chill.
welcome.
Chill.
Come chill. Come chill. So we're at the OYO. Come join us. You know about Rockfin. You know about the T-shirts. Go to tinfoil.t-shirts.com. What else do we got to know? Because we're turning burning
Turn and
today.
burn, turn and
'Cause we
burn.
got dude, you're getting 3 episodes this week. We were going to do 2, but to get
Wow.
to the 500, 3.
Honestly, I'm surprised that it worked out that well. Like I thought
It
we'd
is
be
weird, right?
I thought we'd be rushing to get the
90 episodes.
like we'd have to do one every day this week, honestly.
So
I thought-
rockfin.com has all of our exclusive content. $10, you get everybody's stuff. If you want to support the show, go to tinfoilhatt-t-shirts.com. Go there, check that out. That's all. Pretty soon there will be a nice banner on samtripoli.com, so you can just click that. We'll take you to the thing. I'm working on that right now. Should have done that a long time ago. If you want to see me live, I'm in Las Vegas with these goons. We're doing the Big 500 2 show. Eddie Bravo and a whole list of characters. Tino Sanchez is going to be there. Klaus Schwab Jr. is
get
going
off
to
the
be
grid?
there. What? Off the
grid?
Grid's going to be at the show. Johnny confirmed last night he's doing stand-up.
Oh, shit. Let's do it.
Yeah, so we're very excited.
No, I had the wrong email for him. So
Okay, so the whole gang's gonna be there. Then the following week, I'm in Miami at the Improv with my good friend Howie Dewey from Cash Daddies. Johnny Betancourt's joining me there, and then I have the 10th and 11th of November. I'm in Utah and I'm in Idaho. Go grab those tickets now. Tickets are selling really well for those tickets, so I'm very excited. We're 1 month out and we've sold some tickets, so grab your tickets now. Let's pack these places out so Dad can drop the hammer of the gods on these unsuspecting fools. Anything else, guys?
I don't think so. No.
Anything?
Let's go.
All right, guys. This is going to be a great show. Enjoy the
Go deep,
show.
homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain.
Okay, let's get into this. Super excited to have this next guest on. He's one of the OG guests. As we enter the 500th, we look back at so many guests, and I remember Ryan Davis is like off the grid. It's like we gotta get these guys on. They're OGs of this game, and here they are. Here, one of them are. They've been on Tinfoil Hat multiple times, and I'm very excited to have this next guest on. He is an author of a book called A Canadian Shame, and he's a host of one of the best shows out there, the Grimerica Show. Please welcome Darren Grimes. How are you, brother?
I'm good, Sam. Thanks for having me on the show.
Very excited to have you back. I don't know what appearance this is. Is it 4 or 5? Who knows? Who knows?
4 or 5. I think the original one was like episode 50 or something.
Yeah, you guys were really early into the show, and here we are entering our 500th episode. I can't believe it. I'm watching all the old videos, and it's pretty cool, dude, to see like where we started. Like there was nobody realizes how much chaos was right before that show starts. Like the ending of one show, the starting of a new show, and just the blessings of it all. And you guys have been in the game for a while as well. For those who may not be familiar with your show, Darren, can you tell us a little bit about your show and where they can find it?
Yeah, well, we do the Grimerica Show. Me and my co-host Graham, who's we just got COVID, so we're just getting over that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, some of us did better than others with it.
Watch out. People start saying you're getting paid money to talk about COVID.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We had somebody talk about that as we got our video taken down from YouTube. They're like, dude, how much they pay you to say that stuff? I'm like,
Well, Graham's a little older and a little chubbier, so, he had a bit of a tough time with it, but he pulled through. His voice is still a little messy, but we went down to the States for an event, one of our events, and a bunch of us ended up getting COVID down there, and everyone's fine, except Graham. Graham seems to have been the one who got the worst of it. I feel like he's psyched himself up for it. He was like, he's been like just freaking out about long COVID, and he's just been like had his nose to the COVID grindstone for a long time for the show. We do another show, Grimerica Outlawed, that we're talking about COVID, not every episode, but probably at least, every second or third episode it's coming up. That was kind of the reason we started the new show, Grimerica Outlawed. We started because the Grimerica Show was never originally a super hardcore conspiracy show. It was more, we did get into a lot of that, but we also spent just as much, if not more time talking about spirituality and ancient mysteries and fringe science and other health stuff. So, the conspiracy stuff was already like a 1 and 4 or 5 episode sort of thing. And then fucking COVID happened. And then it was just sort of creeping in from all over. That's all. And it was important, I guess, when you're living through this stuff and you've got the alternative, you're the alternative guys, I guess you got to give the alternative viewpoint. But we kind of got stuck in that with the Grimerica Show, where every show is COVID. This is the very beginning, right? And I didn't want to fucking talk about it anymore. There was about 50% of the audience that didn't want to talk about it anymore.
I get that.
Graham thought it was still important. I thought it was still important to an extent too, but we also had built a brand and stuff like that, and we were kind of losing it to a certain extent, or changing it at the very least. So we just said, you know what, we'll just start a new show, and then it can get kicked off YouTube instead of the regular brand getting kicked off YouTube, which was successful. We managed to get Grimerica Outlawed completely removed from YouTube within 2 months.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and then we kind of moved all of our suspect original content. Anything we had that was going to be a problem, we just preemptively moved that from our main YouTube channel over to Rockfin, which I know you guys are pretty familiar with. And we just house that stuff there. And YouTube, we still use it for what we can. When we do a show that we know isn't going to be a problem, or at least it's not on our radar for being a problem now. I mean, Graham and I have been talking about fucking vaccines for 10 years. So, and now all of a sudden, they don't want you talking about that at all on YouTube.
It's so crazy.
We had moved all that stuff and I'm not even talking about the COVID vaccine, right? Like, we've been doing shows with Dell and guys like this for 10 years about childhood vaccines and other problems and stuff like that. So we just moved all that to Rockfin. We started the new podcast, GrimericaOutlawed.ca. It's sort of the THC style membership. First hour free, second hour members only, $6.39 a month. So we got those 2 shows going now. The Grimerica Show is still free. I think we just released episode 515 or 516 on that. And then we're at about episode 50 now on the Grimerica Outlawed that we started in February, which is a lot more hardcore stuff. It does, sometimes you get some lighter stuff, but for the most part, it's a lot of COVID, a lot of vaccine stuff, some VAERS stuff. We also, the other thing we go after pretty hard over there is Chinese organ harvesting, the treatment of the Falun Gong and the Uyghurs and stuff like that. Our last show we just did with Ethan Gutman was a great episode on that sort of stuff. And that's the podcast. And then we've since branched out into books and audio books and stuff like that.
Well, I love it. I think that is the game to play, and we have done that as well. We have pulled everything off YouTube. Even private videos, I got rid of them because I was getting dings on private videos. I was getting copywritten strikes for videos that hadn't even been uploaded yet. If it had a song in it, it would strike me and then worry about it later.
Or twerking.
It's unbelievable. It's private. Nobody can see it.
It is unbelievable, but when you're on the radar, you're on the radar.
Yeah.
And it is a little bit of, I believe, futility for me to be on YouTube. Yeah. I'm just kind of doing it symbolically because they have shadow banned the show so badly.
And they
Oh, yeah. I mean, at this point, there's no, like, there used to be a real share or a real, like, marketing value to being on YouTube. You know, it ranked super high in the Google search, and it just worked out pretty well to repost your content there. But now, I mean, our YouTube subscriber count hasn't moved in a year. If anything, it's gone down. So, I mean, it's definitely shadow banned to shit. Our problem is there's just like 500 or 600 motherfuckers that refuse to listen anyplace else.
It's so crazy, right?
I just want to say fuck them. But these are guys and gals that have been around from, for 7-8 years. And it's just, they just don't get anything else. And I don't know what to do. But that's kind of the only reason we're reposting there now is,
it is pretty futile for me. I don't know if I'm getting any new people. You always just kind of do it in hopes of getting new people. And then you're like, I don't think they're letting me get new people. I mean, I am for the first time on YouTube Studios seeing plus in the last 28 days. And we're talking plus like 20, 30 people in 28 days.
Do you know
plus?
Do you know sometimes that video's demonetized and they'll still run ads on your motherfucking show?
Oh, yeah,
Well, they run YouTube ads.
that's the
Yeah.
other thing.
Yeah.
They just started running ads and whatever, all our stuff. So, I mean, we went from being this value for value thing where we say we don't do ads, and now YouTube's throwing ads in our shit anyway.
That should be illegal. That sounds like...
You know what, dude? Here's all I gotta say.
Me straight up and said, listen, just so you know, we now reserve the right to put ads in whatever the fuck we want, for whatever we want, wherever we want, in any of your content.
You know what that tells me? That they're losing views at a historic clip, that they're desperate to put it on anything. So they're being told from powers that be, you can't let this stuff go. So they have to, you can't show this stuff. So they have to do that because their masters are telling them to do it. But they also see that their job is, predicated on ad money. Yeah. That's a big part of Google's whole thing. It's a shell for the government, but they still want the ad money. So now they're like, okay, we're going to put it on even these demonetized videos. That's what that says to me. Like one day we put up a broken sim and it had like literally 1,000 ads
An
on
ad
it.
like every 5 minutes, literally.
And people are like, what's without the ads? We're like, what? I don't know,
We
man.
didn't do it, yeah. And then Broken Sim, they took us down for medical misinformation. For me, simply saying a doctor prescribed me ivermectin. That was it. We were very careful not to say anything more than that. And they took us down for medical misinformation and denied the appeal on that, which is...
I mean, I'm just getting shadow banned, and it sucks because...
And regular ban, though. I mean, you've been banned from social media officially, regularly, too.
You're off Twitter now, I think, right? Are you?
No, I got a new Twitter, but I mean, they come for me on everything, dude. And it's just like, I posted a picture of Hillary Clinton's camel toe, and they were like, they literally didn't even give me a reason. There was no, what is the reason we banned you? No reason. We just dinged you.
For anybody thinking it's not like a real actual camel toe, it's literally like just her pants.
Yeah,
like
and
her pants.
She's rocking a hoof right there.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, okay. And it's, but here, the problem is, it's like, and Jimmy Dore says, and I say this all the time here, but Jimmy Dore said best, they're ruining people's abilities to make a dollar. Like, it's affecting our dollar. It affects my ticket sales. And if there was I wouldn't mind if there was actually straight rule that everybody had to follow, but it's not. And if I hear somebody go, it's a private company, it's not. It's publicly traded, and it got government seed money. It's not. This is not just like Amazon. Isn't like, man, this guy worked harder than everybody else. No, dude, his grandpa invented DARPA. These are all theater actors.
But you're not saying you want the government to control it, though, right?
No, I don't want. I do no.
That's what I mean. Then it has to somehow be.
No, but the government runs it. That's what I'm
yeah.
saying.
We just need a better we need everybody to adopt a better alternative.
If you hate internet censorship, right? And you're only on YouTube, you're part of the problem. I don't mind going on YouTube because there's a lot of like stuff I like to watch, which is like black people making fun of white people. Those are great videos.
Is that a genre? I didn't know.
There's like a black guy's like, well, look at this white chick cheat on her husband,
like
talking shit, right?
Like to me, YouTube's good for you when you don't know how to do something.
Yeah, those are great.
Like those are great for YouTube.
That.
Go for YouTube. But like if you're trying to get media or news,
if you're not going to Rockford, you're not going to Rumble, you're not going to Odyssey, you're not going to these alternative things, or the Grimerica personal page because it doesn't have an app. They might have an app. I don't have an app. But you know, if you have it, because I don't have an app, it's just like you're part of the problem.
Well, actually, I think we just got our app just got taken down for just for some bullshit. Maybe I was supposed to update something on the Apple developer thing, and I don't think I did. I actually just thought of that when you mentioned that. We do have an app. It's very simple just to listen to the shows, and it's not available right now. But a bunch of people already have it, so like I still have it on my phone, and it still gets new episodes. But I think it's been removed from the store until I don't know, probably confirm my identity or some bullshit. They're probably trying to chase down more tax money.
And Canada is going nuts right now. I mean,
it's a shit show up here, bro. You don't even know.
Do you think that Trudeau actually won this election?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Okay, because that's Johnny's opinion on California, which I agree in some ways. But you know, when they literally got rid of in-person voting. I've never heard that before. And that to me says they saw the real numbers and they're scared shitless.
So that could be like by comparison, our voting system is way. Now, I'm not defending the votes or the counts. To be honest, I don't really pay close enough attention to know, but I vote. And it's a fucking hardcore process here. Like you have to be pre-registered. Your card has your fucking address on it and the specific voting place that you have to go to vote. You do get ID'd 3 times in order to get in the line. You get ID'd. They'll check you off in a binder on a list. It's racist as fuck. I mean, from what I hear, your guys arguing about down there. But I mean, in Canada, if you don't so homeless people, I don't know how they vote. They probably, if you don't have ID and shit, you ain't voting. I mean, there's a process for those people. I think you go like, oh, I didn't get my card, or so if you don't have a driver's license, I think at the very least you have to have like a couple pieces of mail from your address that say like your name and stuff like that. I don't know. I've never not had ID, but it's fucking hardcore process. And you get checked off in multiple binders. You need to be pre-registered. I know they were talking about they're expecting 5 million mail-in votes, which had everyone kind of concerned. But even for that, you had to pre-register, get everything in the mail, and have it in by a certain time. My girlfriend did do the mail-in thing. I didn't. But even then, I think they said they only got 950,000 mail-in votes or something like that, which is still a lot, I suppose. But I don't think it was stolen. I think that, the West has always gotten a raw deal, and they promised free daycare to the East. So free daycare is a big one, man. I mean, daycare is fucking not cheap in Canada. It's $800 to $1,000 a kid. A lot of the Eastern provinces.
What, a month or a week?
A month. So it's like,
fuck,
and it's
I
like,
wish that would happen to me, dude.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like down there.
Mine for 2 days is a lot more, dude.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
babies.
That's not the point. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I do have 2
I'm
kids.
just talking like, that's just if you have a kid in daycare. Per kid, you're looking at 8 to 12, 1,500 for the higher end stuff like that, which is, I mean.
What about a Mexican nanny?
I never looked into that, but you could probably get a Filipino or something like that, maybe. I don't know.
Well, you know, dude, I've been getting hit up by hot Canadian chicks on Instagram going, hey, dude, can you get me out of here? And I'm like, I might start just a hot chick underground railroad just to get hotties out. Guys, let me tell you about our good friends at Blue Chew. Blue Chew. We're going to drop the hammer on you. Blue Chew.
I don't like how you point at me when you're talking about dropping the hammer.
Rock hard.
Point the hammer on XG.
Boners for Americans. Made by Americans for Americans. Blue Chew for you.
Okay.
And the shit you do, whatever it is, that's up to you. We won't judge you.
That's in the copy, huh?
That's all in the copy. Guys, Blue Chew is a unique online service that has the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, man. Buy the chewable tablet, man. I love it. I love to chew it, and I love to snort it, okay? You can take it.
No, you don't snort this. It's not a snort.
Don't snort it unless you're a veteran like me, but don't snort it.
Do not snort.
Do not snort it, okay?
Okay.
Okay, you take it anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead and be ready whenever the opportunity arises. I like to play boner chicken with my friends, okay? We'll take it and we see who has the more awkward boner at the more awkward time. You're at church, boner, okay? That's how it goes.
Never drink anything before you take a flight with Sam Tripoli.
Yeah, Boner City. The process is simple. Sign up to BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you receive your prescription within days. It's just that simple. The best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in lines at the pharmacy, huh? It's garbage. Waiting in line, right? You see a hottie, and she's like, what are you here for? I'm like, oh, I got Blue Chew. You can't get boners? I can get boners now thanks to Blue Chew, dude. Blue Chew tablets are made in USA, okay, and prepared and shipped directly to your door in a discreet package. Mine comes with fireworks, okay? That's how amazing it is. All right, so it's real simple. This is what we need you to do. We got a special offer, special deal for our listeners, all right? Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code TINFOIL at checkout, and it's just pay $5 in shipping. That's it. Try BlueChew.com, promo code TINFOIL to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details, important safety information, and we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. Thank you, Blue Chew. Blue Chew, we're dropping hammer on you.
So I can still get out. So I don't know. It's got to be weird for those people that because the States isn't really letting people in right now either. You can still fly in right now. It's fine to fly in, but you can't drive over this motherfucker unless you're an essential service or an Indian
or a citizen, a U.S. citizen. You can come in and out if you're a U.S. citizen.
Indian, so I can drive into the States at any time. So I can get around all this bullshit. I just drove back from the States. I was just down there. That's where I got COVID. They were not.
You're welcome.
Yeah, they were not happy about us bringing a COVID positive case over the border into Canada.
So they tested you as you came in.
Yeah, because the rule for Canada right now is, and I think for the States too, if you're white, because like Graham just had to fly into the States, and I don't know if it was an airline thing or a U.S. thing, but I know he definitely had to do a COVID test. He had to provide a COVID negative test within 72 hours of getting on the airplane, which he did before he went down, which is how we know he caught it in the States. And then to get back into Canada now, if you're not an essential service, which I usually am an essential service,
What do you know? What do you do?
I created an energy consulting company. Because it was one of the exemptions. So
I respect that.
I'm an energy consultant. I guess I would take a job too. If anyone wants to check out xeoenergy.ca, EXCIEO.
Oh, I thought it was going to be XOXO, like hugs and kisses.
I think it's like Latin for awaken. So I don't really feel like I'm lying, because whenever I'm going down there, it's usually for an event or something, and I just say I'm just doing some energy consulting. But we had Graham with us this time, and he's not comfortable lying. So I'm like, okay, well, it don't really matter to me. We just have to do this stupid test then, right? So then Graham tests positive. So now we got a problem. We either can leave Graham behind and run for the border, which we considered, or we just drive with some. At this time, my buddy and I both had negative tests from the Friday. This was on Sunday, so we just piled them in the truck and said, "Fuck it, man! We'll just head for the border." We showed up at the border, and we knew Graham was positive. He had tested positive. So then they tried to take us to a quarantine facility in Calgary. Now, but we're out in the middle of fucking nowhere, right? Like this is down in the middle of nowhere where Montana meets Alberta.
Oh shit, that is
It's
nowhere.
like fucking nowhere, bro. Like, I mean, there's not too many places in Canada that the border is a big deal. You know, I can think of maybe Detroit, Windsor being one of them. Sault, Michigan, and to Sault Ste. Marie. There's a couple that are city to city. They're all kind of farther east, but like every border crossing in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta, and British Columbia, except for the fucking far west one, is the middle of fucking nowhere. You're either A, in the middle of the woods, or B, in the middle of the prairies. And we're like 3.5 hours from Calgary, probably. And the border guards don't give a fuck. The cops don't give a fuck. So it's literally just some lady from the health services reaming Graham out on the phone, talking about how many people he's endangered. Border guard.
We've empowered the stupid and the lonely.
Yeah. So then I just I started bitching and they were like, "So are you declining the quarantine facility?" And we were like, "Fucking rights we are." And they're like, "Well, there could be a penalty for this." And that's fine. And then I had to get out and I show my passport to the border guard and everything. And he's like rolling his eyes. He's like, "Just so you know, this has nothing to do with us. We got to get them involved." So, he's not taking me to the quarantine facility. There's no police there. There's no police that are going to take me to the quarantine facility. The police in Calgary and Alberta have said they're not interested in enforcing that kind of stuff. So we all just came home. I did get COVID, though. I did get sick a few days later, I think by the Thursday. So they sent me home then. They were like, "Okay, well, you guys have to go home because Graham definitely has COVID."
Graham's a super spreader.
Yeah, so he has to go home. And you two, I was with my Mohawk buddy. So I travel with my buddy. We drive all the time because we're both Indians, so we can drive into the state still. If you're not an Indian, you can't drive into the state.
Unbelievable that is a rule, right? I mean, it's
because it's part of our negotiated treaties because we were.
I get that. Yeah, well, and that's what we want to talk about.
People that moved around quite a bit. We were actually written into the treaties that those borders don't mean shit to us. That's the provincial borders, which they shut down here for a while, and the federal border, which is probably the best thing. I mean, the U.S. seems so far. I haven't done the full look into their system as much as I should, but the U.S. system definitely seems they definitely recognize. I mean, right now the U.S. treats me better as a Canadian Indian than the Canadian government does.
Oh yeah, I mean, Joe Biden wants to give you cash and prizes right now. That's
yeah. Well, it's always been that way. I mean, before Biden, during Trump, as long as I've been traveling to the States, it's sort of been that way where I can just use my status card. I can show that. Now, granted, I'm crossing in Montana and Idaho usually. It's a pretty laid back, chilled out, pretty kind of person out here. But, I just show them my treaty card. They don't care about passports. They're super nice all the time. Every time I come back into Canada, it's a fucking shit show.
Which is crazy because I used to cross into Canada all the time as a kid. And it was just like, "You gonna do any shady shit?" They're like, "No." They're like, "Okay, you're through." That was literally it back in the day. And then after 9/11, it just got super crazy. And I was like, I remember it would take forever to get through the border. I'm like, what terrorist hates Canada? You guys are like the koala bears of human beings. Like I don't know anybody that doesn't like Canadians. You're the most adorable people. And everyone loves Canada. And like nobody's attacking Canada out of like you imperialist piece of shit.
That's why you can go into Mexico with no questions asked.
As a Canadian?
As a U.S. citizen, as a Mexican, they're like, go. No one cares.
Go. Have a good time. Go have a good time.
I assume that, I could like get all the way down to fucking Venezuela probably. If I honestly don't think I'd have any problems.
Damn.
I don't know what it's like driving into Mexico, but as of now, I have a Canadian passport. I don't think I could get a U.S. passport. I think I'd have to I think the process for that is I have to move there.
Yeah.
So I can move to the States at any time. I can work without a visa, and I can't be deported for any reason, which just means they'll throw my ass in jail down there if I did something stupid.
Oh, and by the way,
I think once I lived there for either 5 years or 6 years and then do a test, then I could get citizenship.
But by the way, the immigrants you gotta watch out for are not the Mexicans. The ones you want to watch out for are the Canadians. They're taking all the good jobs, like the writing gigs, the acting gigs, the directing gigs.
It's a thing that Canadians just go down there and don't come back.
Coming in the country, doing Jew face, taking all the Hollywood.
Taking all the Hollywood jobs from Sarah Silverman.
Fuck Sarah Silverman.
Yeah, I mean, dude, we did that on Broken Sim last night. It's never been more of a selfish thing than you've ever seen than that whole crying situation. But that's a totally different subject. I want to get into your book. Tell me about your book, man. I'm super excited to talk about it.
It's called Canadian Shame, the Indian Act in residential schools.
So this has been a big story. We've had, I'm sorry to cut you off. I just want to set it up, that we had Sabrina the Space Witch on. She came and talked a little bit about this as well. But I think this is a really big, important thing. And on this show, I really love like shedding light on this subject, which is the treatment of the indigenous people of these countries and how they go missing and nobody says anything. There's no investigation. There's no nothing. And I think it's important to talk about this and shed light on it so people will start maybe, I don't know, speaking up, caring, giving a fuck, you know?
Yeah, one of those things will be good. It's a weird sort of situation we've got, especially in Canada. Like I say, I'm not fully up to speed on the American situation, but from what I can see, it seems to be a little better in some regards, with self-governance and deciding who's a member and things like that. There's some tribes in the States that are doing quite well. Alaska and a few of the other ones. But Alaska especially. Alaska seems to have a good thing going on. The two main differences between Canada and the States, where I would argue the States has got a better thing going on, is I believe since 1935, the States gave the tribes the right to self-governance. Now, they might not all be capable of self-governance right now. They're sort of working towards that, but it's an option. If you are able to put it in, you're able to put it in however you want. And the other one is land. My understanding is that the reservations in the States are actually owned outright by the tribes. And then it's up to them to divvy that up as they see fit. I know there were some tribes that were using casino proceeds and things like that to actually start expanding their land base, buy up some land on the outskirts, things like that. But in Canada, we don't have that situation. In Canada, it's the federal government still that decides who's an Indian and who's not. I still use the term Indian because I still have a card that says I'm a registered Indian, a certificate of Indian status. We still have an Indian Act in Canada. Now, they did change it from the Indian. It used to be the Indian Office or Indian Affairs. Now I think they've changed it to Northern and Indigenous Affairs or something like that. But the act that governs me and all that sort of stuff is still called the Indian Act. And like I say, my treaty card still says registered Indian on it. But in Canada, we don't own any land. If an Indian wants to own land, he has to leave the reserve and buy it. You can get housing on reserve, depending on which reserve you're on. It's all sort of set up a little bit differently. There's about 650 different bands in Canada, and if you're a member of that band, you can figure out some housing. Like I said, I've never lived on reserve myself, so I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I do know you don't ever get to own that land. It's held for you in trust by the federal government or the crown. And, under the understanding that eventually all of us will assimilate into mainstream culture, and the federal government can sort of have that land back to do with as they see fit. So those are sort of the two big differences between Canada and the States that I'd like to see sorted out in Canada. I don't have any interest in living on the reserve myself, but for the people that are there should be some sort of permanency, I guess. It's hard to start on doing a lot of improvements to some place you don't own. So it gets tricky. You don't have land to now mortgage against things as a community. You can't borrow against it. You can't do a bunch of stuff. So that's a couple of the main ones. I mean, the other big problem then is that it also means whenever the federal, provincial government or municipal government needs a new road or a new pipeline or a new railway, you don't really have any say in the matter.
Yes, we did an episode.
There are some instances in Canadian history where there were some pushback. The big one was the Oka crisis back in 90 or 94, whenever it was, 92 maybe. Where actually my buddy Kyle, who was just here, he just got to go home Saturday. He finally cleared his quarantine time. He got COVID as well, even though he was double vaxxed. Now, in his credit, he did not get as sick as Graham, or even as sick as I did. I didn't get super sick, but I was for about 24 hours. I was in a pretty rough shape.
But aren't you guys healthier than Graham?
I would argue I am healthier than Graham. Yes, I am younger by 11 years. I'm probably a little bit better shape. I spend a lot of time hunting and out in the wilderness and stuff like that, which probably played a pretty big factor. Kyle had no symptoms, which was interesting. He was positive for COVID with no symptoms. Someone might call that an asymptomatic super spreader, but I mean, I'm not saying that. But there does seem to be all sorts of evidence for that. Anyway, I digress. So I lost my train of thought.
Your train of thought was I wanted to get into what basically your book is talking about. And that is I believe it's about, I haven't read your book yet. I will add it to the books I tend to read. I plan to read before I die. Because I just have loads of books at home that I keep ordering.
I know.
And I gotta read them at some point.
And I love how you said till you die, so no one can complain. You're like, am I dead yet?
Okay,
I say, I'm reading it.
It's still on the board. Is that
the audiobook's going?
Well, that's what Brian Callen tells. Brian's like, I read this book. I'm like, you listened to a book, okay? You didn't read it. That's a big difference to me. Because it's like, anyways. So
you got through the book, though.
Yeah, dude, that's true. I'll get it, man. So what was just coming out, or maybe this was, and this is what's interesting because I have Canadians hit me up all the time, that the story kind of comes out about how all these all the remains of children were found under these schools. And from what some Canadians have told me, that everybody knew about this. And now it's a big story, and everyone's like, why is this suddenly a big story? But to me, it is a big story. Even if it's known, it's still a big story that children have gone missing. Nobody said anything in these schools, which makes me wonder if they're House of Horrors.
Well, they probably were to some extent, for sure. I mean, the residential school system... We knew a bunch of kids died. I mean, some people knew. If you wanted to know, you had to really sort of dig deep. The Canadian, it's not fucking something you learned in school. I mean, I grew up not far from, I grew up in Indian country, basically in a small mining town that would be an Indian reserve, but there's a bunch of gold there. So it's in between a bunch of Indian reserves. And well, I didn't learn any of this, you know. My parents didn't learn any of this. None of my aunts, my uncles learned any of this. Nobody I know learned any of this, unless you had someone you knew that was interested in it or looking into it. There have been a couple people in Canada, Kevin and Annette, the Mohawk Nation, Six Nations out east, and a couple others that have been kicking up a storm for a couple of decades now, saying that these graves were there and the rest. And they're so, the reason some people say that they knew about them is because they're not, in most cases, we're not talking about mass unmarked graves that have been unmarked for the entirety. There's probably in a lot of cases, there was sort of maybe some sort of marker there that just got lost over the years, or when the upkeep stopped, or because we've got records from Dr. Bryce when he was going around of the problems with tuberculosis, how we were having 30, 40s, 50% of the kids that were going to the schools were dying. It was documented. He lost his job in the 20s for reporting on that.
Yes.
Tried to report about it.
He died broke, right?
Yeah, he was forced into retirement. He tried to fight that retirement, and they said, no, you're done. So he basically took all of his reports and issued them as a book, a national crime that was talking about this. So some people knew. I would argue that a lot of those original proponents knew what they were doing. There's a ton of quotes right out of our Congress, which is the House of Representatives in Canada, the House Commons, with our members of Parliament and all that, where people are on record talking about assimilation and blah, blah, blah. So basically, the federal government of Canada started this by force in the late 1800s, 1884, 1890. In there, they started these residential schools, which were run by the churches. And it was basically, that's when attendance became no longer optional. Now, there is a ton of evidence that in some places, these schools weren't so bad, and that, you know, especially in the beginning, some of the parents were maybe okay with the kids having to go there. They realized that, you know, there's about to be some giant cultural changes, and you might be better sorted for that if you learn the language and things like that. But very quickly, anyway, they turned into fucking hellholes. And we're talking, you know, 150 schools across Canada, and attendance is mandatory as of 6 years old. So when you're 6, the RCMP or the church or whoever, you get put on a train or a plane or an automobile.
Holy shit.
And sent to these schools where, you know, most of the time you're at least a few hundred miles from anyone else. In a lot of instances, they would split up siblings, stuff like that. So 6 years old, you're gone to the school, you're there, you live there.
Hold on. So if I'm a native Canadian, an Indigenous Canadian, I have kids. The government says my kids have to be sent away?
Yeah, they'll come get your kids. They'll come take your kids.
Oh my God, dude.
So right now you'd be kind of waiting for your twins to turn 6 so that the government could come and take them away and start to raise them on your behalf. As soon as they get to the school, they're going to get their hair chopped off. They're going to get probably split up, and they're going to get banned from speaking their own language. If they get caught speaking their own language, they're going to be punished.
Can you visit them?
Sometimes you can, depending on the school. You can get a pass. This is also during a time where they introduced the Indian pass system in the early 1900s, so that technically an Indian's not allowed off the reserve unless he has a pass from the Indian officer. So you need to now get permission from the government before you can leave your reserve. In Canada, there are reserves, in the States, there are reservations. So that now your kids are taken, depending on how far you are and how much money there is. And if you have the money, because in a lot of instances, I think I have some old clip outs in the book where they talk about, oh, we're going to let your kids come home for Christmas this year if you can afford to pay for the travel both ways and things like that. And of course, in a lot of cases, they can't. They can't afford to travel. There's no buses. It's hard to travel a few hundred miles in the late 1800s. That's
unbelievable, dude.
So for the most part, you'd get them back maybe in the summer, and not always. Sometimes you go do an internship on a farm or something like that. So, and that's where you are from 6 to 16 or 17 or 18. It would be up to the people that were running the school to decide when you could go. And that was that. And a lot of kids would try to run away. A lot of kids would try not coming back, but the RCMP would go and get you and make sure you go there. And your parents could be fined if they got caught hiding you and different things like that. So now after a couple of years of that, the kids would go home and they wouldn't be able to speak the language anymore. And they've also been told that their parents are heathens and blah, blah, blah. They've banned the powwow and the potluck and all that, the Sundance, all that was banned for 80 years. Illegal practice, any of those rituals or any of our ceremonies and stuff like that were banned. I mean, in a lot of cases they went underground, but it was publicly banned. So it was illegal if you got caught on your reserve having a powwow, you're in shit. People be charged, people be jailed. And then they teach the kids in the schools that all this shit is sort of heathen, pagan, crazy nonsense, devil worship, blah, blah, blah. Now the kids go home. They've got this fractured relationship already from abducting a kid out of their house. I mean, we know now that in 2020 what the trauma is just from maybe a single family household. Now imagine what the trauma is from a zero family household. And we're dealing with that. So in the 50s or mid 60s, mandatory attendance dropped. 69, 70, there was some big protests when the white paper came out from the government where they tried to take away a bunch of rights that the Indians had and get rid of it once for all. There was some big protests, some backlash then, where some of these tribes actually started to take over some of the schools. They'd just show up there and they'd sit down and they'd say, we're not fucking leaving. We've had enough. So this started to happen in the early 70s. And I want to say by the end of the 70s, all the residential schools were now back in tribal hands. So you'll see a lot of stats about how residential schools existed up until 1996 in Canada. For the last 16 years of that, at least, maybe more like 20, those would have been 100% run with the tribe. Attendance is no longer mandatory. In those instances, sometimes the school is actually on the reserve and the Indians have just taken over running it, things like that. So yeah, that was kind of what the school system was doing for 75 years or so in Canada. And now we're talking, like my dad, my grandpa would have been part of this system, right? So, I mean, I don't talk to my dad. He's got some problems, probably as a result of not having parents and being taken off to these facilities and things like that. But he's had alcohol abuse problems his whole life that I've been able to cope with. So
no, I'm sorry
this
for
is
that.
This is all sort of the repercussions of destroying the family unit for 100 years or more in Canada.
Yeah, and that is exactly what. I mean, you hear Newt Gingrich talk about that in the United States, right? Like throwing kids right into government-ran schools and stuff like that. That's all meant to detach you from your parents. All right? That's what that's all about, to detach you from your parents. And I mean, it's traumatized. When you hear Marxists talk about, I want to get rid of the family unit, this is what they're talking about, man. Creating generational trauma. And Bill Burr did a really great bit about the owner Donald Sterling of the Clippers when he talked about how like Donald Sterling's grandparents were like in the middle of like all that kind of forging what a new America was, yelling at Mexicans or Native Americans or blacks, get off my lawn. Like that was very prevalent, and he's only a generation from that. So, and the reason I bring that up is because, you have, my father's generation, like, they were all, like, forced to go to the church. They were all forced to work with the Roman Catholic Church. And we know how evil the Roman Catholic Church is. Now you're forced to go there. And, I don't know what happened to my father. I've heard stories, but, real trauma happened to these people. And now we got this culture now where everybody's shitting on your dad and all that stuff. All the craziness that our parents and our grandparents had to go through. Now imagine being an indigenous in Canada having to go through that. Being like ripped from your parents. Like that's done purposefully so you cannot function in society.
That's right. And then in Canada, what happened is, so in the 70s, the schools sort of go away, the 60s and 70s, that's sort of drying up. And then we kind of get into, so the government changed their approach to more of a child welfare approach, where now they have the ability to create poverty situations and all these reserves across the country, come in with child welfare, in a lot of cases, poverty mimics neglect, and take kids away. At least in the 60s, 70s, 80s, it was at least a low number is 20,000. The high number is just over 100,000 kids taken by provincial and federal governments off of reserve and parceled out all over North America. Some going down to the States, some going down to Texas. They had the Adopt an Indian Métis program, the AIM program. That was basically, you'd see ads in newspapers. I've got a couple clippings in the book from the mid 60s where, if you wanted to adopt a white kid, you might have to wait a couple of years, but if you're okay with an Indian, you can get a couple right away. And there's a ton of evidence of these kids going down to southern states and stuff like that, where they're put into like indentured servitude, stuff like that. Now, this is all stuff that I'm not just saying. Everything in the book is impeccably sourced. Nothing is opinion. Everything is sourced in the extensive bibliography to where it was said in the House of Commons to this, to that. The 60s scoop there's now been 3 apologies. I believe the Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan governments have all formally apologized for their roles in the 60s scoop, in the taking of kids off reserve and putting them into white families. And that's all those apologies have kind of all come out in the last 4 or 5 years. And there's been a settlement, I think $800 million lawsuits paid out to some of the survivors, stuff like that. But the only reason I really bring that up, I'm not a firm believer that the apologies really do much. It's more about action, but what they do is they sort of cement it into history that it happened. It's not just some conspiracy theory. It's not, not that there's, most of these conspiracy theories turn out to be true, but in my book, there's nothing in there that's theoretical. Everything in there is sourced and all that.
How often, just imagine how many kids went missing. Just gone. Just, what happened to so-and-so? I don't know. Oh, he ran away.
Yeah.
Oh, he ran away. That's such an excuse for like, where's my kid? He ran away.
We're gonna get into like where they're finding these graves, but when you hear this story, you hear, this is where we get into what they did to the black community, right? Over hundreds of years. Then we get into
you're talking about the Blackstreet murder where no one knows about it, like stuff like that.
Well, but the destruction of the black family unit, which is the most devastating part of the whole thing, because that creates generational damage, the pushing of a culture, stuff like that. This has been done. Now, this is where you get white people doing this. But my only pushback on that is like, yes, they are white people. I have no argument with that. But the reality is, this is governments, man. And because if I just hold one second. If I come back, we zoom back, we move the zoom. Let's go to China and Japan and what the Japanese did to Chinese, right? Or what the Chinese did to the Chinese. It's all government, man. It's like the government is the virus. The government is the one that does this. In this country and in Canada, it is white people. But we can go to any other country where it's not white people and we see the same thing happen, which is government ran by elites that are just inflicting generational trauma on the middle and in particular the lower class.
Yeah, in Mexico it's not, and there's no whites. It's the Mexicans screwing the Mexicans over.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like it's all done under the guise of
the government.
Well, dude, I mean, in North Carolina in the South, up until the 70s, there was a eugenics board that was bringing women in for procedures, medically necessary procedures is what they would tell them. They didn't tell them what it was. And they were tying their tubes. I mean, they were sterilizing people. There was a program to sterilize people by a eugenics board in the United States that was active until the 70s, dude.
Yeah.
Here in Canada, too, Alberta had a sterilization program. So does Saskatchewan, I believe.
Insanity.
But yeah, I mean, it sounds right. It's the government, which is kind of another reason for the timing of the book, because I mean, we seem to be in this place where everyone wants to trust the government and think that maybe the government has the best interest in their heart. And I mean, the book is kind of showing you where this ends, because I mean, the world's a weird place right now, and it's going to shake out pretty different. Whereas I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but I can tell you right now that the plan is to make you all fucking Indians. Every fucking one of us. The reserve system and the freedom of movement pass and all that kind of stuff was very old then, and it was a way to control a minority of the population. But now we've got tech, and they don't care about controlling minorities of the population so much anymore, whereas it seems like they want to control all of the population. And I mean, it's starting to look like we're all going to get fucking corralled into smart city reservations, and we're not going to be allowed to leave the fucking things. So, I mean, the book kind of highlights what happened to the Indians when their food supply was destroyed and the government sort of took over the place, and now you're dependent on the government to fucking feed you. Okay, now this is the main problem. That was a problem in Canada and the States, is we started putting up fucking fences like crazy, and the antelope can't cross fences. Antelope, giant fucking food source. The main food source, buffalo, they don't like crossing train tracks and shit. And their fucking fur and their hide is worth a fortune in Europe. I mean, I think the record showed just in 1 year, 75 million buffalo pelts going back from America to Europe. So just like the destruction of those two food sources put us in such a place that we couldn't feed ourselves anymore. There's not enough deer to feed a couple million people. I mean, there's a reason that Indians used to break down into bands, you know, especially when you go into winter and stuff like that. You're in a group of 30, 40, maybe 50 people on the high end of that. In the summer, you'll meet up a couple of times, stuff like that. But I mean, when you get out in the woods and you're trying to feed a bunch of people, it's not fucking easy. Now, 30, 40 people, hard enough to feed. Try and feed 500 or 1,000 is fucking not happening. Now, there was a time when it could happen off the land. Those times are gone. So we became dependent on government rations, on all the annuities that the government would give us to feed ourselves, because, you know, now not all the cultures, but a lot of them, especially the further west you go, where the buffalo was more of a staple of the diet and the antelope were a big staple of the diet, where that was suddenly gone. Now they're just not there anymore. So you don't have a farming lifestyle. You don't have a ranching culture. Your culture is eating buffalo and elk and antelope that are all over the place, and now they're gone and they're not coming back. I think we're back up to maybe 500,000 buffalo in the States right now. But at one time, you know, there was probably 1 billion. Now, that's kind of where we're all at, I would argue, in 2021. I mean, we're all in this weird sort of quasi spot where, I mean, I hunt a lot. but I can't get all my food out of the bush right now. And definitely a million people that live around me, we can't all start doing that. It's just not going to fucking work. So maybe you can run with some supply if you've got a farm or something. Maybe you're growing a bit of stuff. I mean, I'm in Canada. It's cold here a lot. So the growing season is short. But we've created a culture now where we're all dependent on it, on the supply chain. And I think the timing is ripe to sort of see what happens when you give up control of that. And how easy it is to bring an entire fucking culture to its knees when you have supply of their food. And right now, I mean, we're all a blip or a who knows what away from the stores not having shit on them. You know what I mean? I mean, you guys are starting to see some of that down there. We've seen it with some toilet paper and some other stuff up there. The prices are starting to go through the fucking roof. There's all stuff we have no control over that, you know, that I would argue the government is sort of creeping in on. And I don't think it's a good idea to centralize and give up power and freedom to the government. And the book is kind of there as a reminder of what happened just 100 years ago when we did this.
I completely agree. My personal belief is things are going to start changing for the positive. I think we're going to go through a rough period where everything is going to be exposed. People are going to start waking up. I think people now are starting to wake up to this dead internet notion that a lot of these people on the internet aren't real. All these pro-government with blue check marks, a lot of them aren't even real people or real accounts. I think people are waking up to that, and I personally think at the end it's going to be there's going to be a light that begins to shine on everything.
I mean, I got some hope with what we saw with the airlines.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. My only problem is, like, what if you're stuck in those cities? But that's what you got to go through.
You got to take the L. Yeah, that's like when you couldn't take the bus. Like when you couldn't take the bus and you're like, you can't take the bus, you got to walk. You got to take the L.
You got to take the L.
For it to work out for everybody else.
And you know what? It is what it is. And start smiling and dialing people in town. Hey, man, I'm stuck in town. Can I crash there for just on your couch for a moment till they figure this out? Smile and dial, dude. Smile and dial or sleep in that airport, man. I mean, we're going to have to go rough. This is going to be an extraction, man, in my humble opinion. And they're all in. Their only hope is to go all in.
Do you think a private company would work out? I mean, I know it's a long shot, like airlines that are like private company where like they don't follow those rules. If you get what I mean, because don't like when you fly private, they don't search you and all that bullshit.
I don't think you can get in the air.
Yeah, of course, it'd
private.
be a huge shit, right?
Right. I don't think you can do that. I think that you got to be part of the whole system, and that's how they control it. But I think it's going to be interesting. But there is.
It's going to be a wild year, man. So fucking strap in.
Strap in, dude. Strap in. I mean, you know, and I tweeted this the other day. It's like, I'm starting to wonder if we need to defund the police. We're looking at let's just take California, right? The police, the prison guard union in California basically funded Newsom's recall. I mean, to keep him not from getting recalled. They were a huge contributor to his campaign to keep him in office. And now, because they did that, they don't have vaccine mandates where kindergartners have them. I mean, that's where we're at. When I watch around the world, watch what's going on, who's inflicting the pain? Police officers, right? And you're like, well, what are we supposed to do? Strap up, bro. Strap up, jump in the back, guns, we're going to get toilet paper.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work out. But I know that there does seem to be there seems to be just like the longer this goes on, the less people seem to listen or care. Or, I mean, it just seems to me like government authority is sort of just.
Well, I mean, in New York,
it's
only
all based on on us just agreeing that it's there, right?
Yeah, it's the emperor's new clothes. I've been saying that. Government authority is the emperor's new clothes.
Well, only 14 businesses got fined in New York for the vaccine mandate. Seems like no one's giving a fuck. Like,
Yeah.
if only 14 people got fined.
Irish
It's gonna be a
democracy,
wild
it's
year,
called.
Because here's the thing: is like this old empire, one way or another, is just we're living through its demise. Now, I don't know what empire is demising right now, but it seems like at the very least, the fucking media companies are that empire that they've had built for the last 70 years is like disintegrating, and it's kind of weird to just live through, where it's like, I mean, they're just doubling and tripling down on some of this stuff, and it's I don't know, man. I just think it's gonna be a wild year.
I think it's gonna be a wild year too.
Strap in. It's gonna get crazy. Don't believe anything you read on the internet or on the TV, and just fucking hope for the best.
I've been hearing that though.
2023 is going to be looking okay if we can get through 2020.
I totally agree with that.
I've been hearing that since Trump's win. This year's going to be a crazy year. Ever since Trump won, it's supposed to get crazy.
But it's been kind of crazy.
I agree. I agree. I'm just like, how much crazier can we get? Is where I'm like, yo, where's the limit? Is what I'm wondering. It's like, it's going to be crazy.
What's going
it's gonna
on?
get crazy. I know.
Have you been out there?
No, I know, but I'm just like, fuck, can we stop?
We live in a bubble in LA that's like bad, but it's not like, it's like.
We're on week 114 of fucking two to flatten the curve.
Now, let me ask you something, Darren. Honestly, what role do you think guns have in what's happening in the United States versus what's happening in Australia and Canada?
None.
See, I think that everyone's like, oh, dude, the only reason this shit hasn't gone down here is because we have guns. I go, I don't know if that's it.
The guns are just fucking, it's like a fake fucking security blanket. I mean, the guns will help you, sure. I have a bunch of guns. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to tell you how many. It's none of your fucking business. But I have a bunch of guns and a bunch of bullets for them. Because I'm a hunter and I like the idea of having them. But if they want to fucking pinch me off, man, it's going to be at a food point or at something like that. It's not going to be at that thing. And not only that, I think if the fucking last couple of years have showed me anything, is that if maybe not if the state came out with the rule, but if their boss came out and said, hey, man, we can't employ no more gun owners, I think 90% of these people would sell the shit.
I think it's interesting, dude. I think
Maybe
the reason they haven't gone.
Makes them think different. But here's the thing. I live in Canada where they say rural gun ownership, if anything, is higher than the United States. So, and I don't know, I guess we'll see, but people are getting fucked over up here pretty hard right now with or without their fucking guns. And I think they're saying rural gun ownership is like 95%.
I think what's going on in here is that it is so far to go to what's going on in Australia, right? It's like, it would be shocking. Whereas Australia has been incrementally moving towards that for a very long time. Or
it's just like they seem to be culturally okay with it to a very high extent. Like, here's the thing. In Canada, I think people would, if you tried like storming a bunch of kids, A, I think you'd have trouble. And B, I don't know how they got those cops that fucking riled up, because in Canada, luckily, there's been some outside incidents. The OPP and the Quebec police seem to get a little fucking crazy there. But by and large, the police forces have been like, no.
See, that's the cops we need. And I wouldn't defund them. And we have a sheriff in LA who said, or was it, where was he? He's
Riverside.
Like, I'm not enforcing these fucking rules. This
one.
makes no sense. If that happens, I'm all good. Because I'm like, okay, let's say we got to overthrow this thing, right, cops? Like, you don't think you'll get paid? Like, all we want to do is get rid of this scumbag who's telling us to do all this shit.
Yeah, the LA County Sheriff says he will not enforce a vaccine mandate in his agency.
Unless, I mean, maybe they would turn on me, but I don't know. I trust my cops here. I really do. I guess I do worry about the army a little bit, but it's so fucking small. I mean, it's like 23,000 fucking people.
Well, they're supposed.
Them are like part timers.
When's the mandate supposed to go in effect in LA? October? No,
November 27th.
November 27th. Have you guys heard Have you guys heard of anything that's gonna?
That's such a long way, and like, what?
It's bizarre. Yeah, it's like.
Well, my whole thing is like,
I don't get it.
It's like
so what's the mandate is just like vax passport, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any indoor public space, you have to have.
I haven't fucking gone out yet. I haven't gone out yet to see what it's like. I think they're mostly enforcing it though.
Well, by the Pantages,
I'm just not fucking supporting it.
I saw people go into the Pantages, which is where all the big Broadway plays go when they come play LA, and they have people at the front. And I saw people pulling out their cards. I'm like, what are you doing?
Well, now and they're pushing people to get clear in the Clear app. You know that Start Clear service. You can upload your vaccine thing there, and you'll just have it on your phone.
Like the airport.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's through Clear, the same company. Yeah.
Oh shit.
I mean, I've got papers. I needed to get papers for different reasons. All right. I'm not going to comment on the validity of my papers. But they're not super valid. But I'm not using them. I'm not using them. I've decided that, I get it. It's tough having a restaurant. It's been a tough couple of years. But here's the thing. I skipped the fucking dishes, man. And I came the fuck out to your restaurants when you let me. And blah blah blah, and you just it's been 18 months, and not enough of you have fucking gave a fuck to not go along with this shit. So
that's a great point. Somebody tweeted that.
Yeah, I'm not going, and I'm not ordering shit on Skip the Dishes anymore. I'm not going to your facility. I'm not going to your movie. I'm not getting on your fucking airplane unless I absolutely have to.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. But
and that's it. You're not getting any of my fucking money, dude. None of it. And I mean, I'm saving a fortune, but I'm a money spender. And this is honestly, I think, where you win. Where it's like, okay, you guys want to come over no, we can't do that. But if you guys want to come to my place, we can watch the game and we'll make some burgers and shit. Or we'll go to Ralph's place, or we'll go to Graham's place, or we'll do fucking whatever the fuck. But no, we're not going to the pub that fucking is okay with this. Great. Whether they're really okay with it or they're not okay with it, you're fucking playing along. And we're way past the fucking line of where playing along is okay. We're way past that. That line was like fucking 6 months ago. So if you're still fucking enforcing this shit, then you're part of the problem. Fucking simple. And you're not getting any of my fucking money. You're not getting any of my money. The Canadian Airlines can suck my fucking dick. I travel a lot. You know what I'm doing now? I'll drive to fucking Great Falls, Montana, 4 hours away, and I'll get an airplane there where they won't ask me for my papers.
Well, I agree with everything you said right there. Okay.
Eventually they're going to get me. I'm kind of getting to that point where, I might get this fucking shot one day. But it's going to be on my fucking terms. And it's not going to be any day fucking soon. It's not going to be until I can't feed my kids. I'm at the point right now where I might take the shot if you'd fuck off with the kids. Okay, just stop even fucking talking about 5 to 11-year-olds, and I might just go get your fucking shot. Let's make that deal. Because that to me is a real slippery fucking slope. But I mean, I'm not saying I don't have the shot. Maybe I do.
I love it. Well, him and I did.
It's none of your fucking business, honestly.
I did a giant march to open up, and all the people that march against that were about opening up businesses. And like, how many of those people do you think got the vaccine? Zero. So now the people, and this was a guy put out the tweet. I'm sorry, can't remember the name of the guy who put out the tweet, but if he sent it to me, I'll give you credit on Twitter and Instagram. I'll remind everybody that this was your tweet. But he said that basically these restaurants and stores and all these people are going to be excluding the people who march for them to open up.
Yep. And here's the thing. The people that are scared shitless aren't coming to spend their money anyway. So you're kind of like cordoning off the people that like doing free stuff.
That is the best point as well, dude.
I mean, it's a self-correcting thing, and that's what I'm trying to tell my friends right now. Is it sucks, but I can't come. I can't support it, and I'll tell you why I can't support it, in the hopes that you'll listen to what I say and maybe you'll stop supporting it. But if you don't, that's fine too. You can still come to my house with your shot, without your shot.
That's a big reason why I don't go to Comedy Store right now,
But I'm not going any place that is fucking playing this
Tax
fucking game.
passports.
Period.
One of many reasons, but that is another one.
And if people want to do events where they don't have to do this shit, they can head over to contact@thecabin.com. Unfortunately, most of the crew got COVID at the last event, but that just means we can't get it next time. So
yeah, I mean, like, dude, I mean, people get this shit. I've had it. I think I've had it like 3 times. And guess what happens? I power through it like I did the first time I got it.
That or you just might be jet lagged. You go hard on the paint.
I do go hard in the
Yeah.
paint. Thank you for recognizing that.
Yeah, you do. So I got to give
Johnny,
it to
you never
That's when it
recognized
finally
that.
fucking got me, you know? That's when it finally got me. Because here's the thing. We had a guy test positive like the first day, right? The first day of our event. I won't say which one or anything, but we were doing a tour down in the States. And day one was okay. Day 2, end of day 2, buddy was feeling sick. So morning of day 3. But we don't really, day 1's short. You don't get there till like 8 at night. So we did day 1 tour. Day 2 tour, we get to go. Buddy's like, he's feeling kind of sick. I went for a COVID test. Bang, positive, right? So we're getting ready to get in the vans for day 2 of touring out of 6 days of touring. And we got a guy that had COVID in the van all day the day before. So I had to give a speech and blah, blah, blah. I kind of just said, just like, listen, someone has COVID. We're not running from COVID. We're just going to continue with the event. If he wants to follow around in his car so he doesn't have to get in the van, this is how we're sort of going to go with it. You guys are free to make your adult decisions. And if you have a problem or you want a refund or anything like that, you can text me off. So you don't have to do it in a group setting sort of thing. And I was super proud to say that every single fucking person was like, fuck it, man. We party on.
Party
So
on, Wayne. Party
and
on, Garth.
unfortunately, like 9 or 10 of us got COVID. And it's too bad. But anyway, the reason I brought that up is because I stayed in that same hotel room as Graham for 7 days and then spent 14 hours in a fucking truck with him and tested negative for COVID the next morning while he was positive. But then, you know what happened is I drove for like 17 or 18 hours that day. And then I didn't really get any sleep the next couple of days because I was sort of, yeah. And then after like 2 nights in a row of only 2 or 3 hours of sleep, bang, got me. I'm a firm believer if your immune system's in good shape and
You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
Me too.
Fine.
The day I got it, I had been drinking the day before up till 2 in the morning. I could have swore I was hungover.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm hungover, and then
you only think I go hard in the paint? You live in the paint. You live in the paint.
Nah, he's exaggerating.
So if you want to come to one of our events, we'll never ask you about your vaccine status. We don't give a fuck. Contact at thecabin.com.
Contact at thecabin.com.
We're doing our next event is down in Arizona in February. Actually,
Really? Where are you guys going, to the Vortex?
We're going to Pine Top Lakeside. We got an event up in Pine Top Lakeside. We're going to do a day trip over to the Petrified Forest National Park and check that out a little bit. But for the most part, we're just going to hang around the giant lodge we got rented. We got Brandon Powell, who's one of the top Wim Hof method instructors in the United States. He's going to take us up there. We were just doing the ice baths down in Washington. We're going to be doing ice baths again. So we're going to be doing all that cold training, all the breath work to go in the ice tub.
How long you doing? Or what's your goal?
It's the top fucking 200 fucking CEOs in the world all have some sort of cold method. Well, I do 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
In the ice water. Yeah, it's a motherfucker.
Oh, yeah.
It's a motherfucker.
Why? How long have you done?
I've never done it, but that guy, how long does he do it?
Wim climbed fucking Everest in his shorts.
Yeah.
That's where Wim's at. My buddy Brandon, good friend of mine, modern day shaman, Brandon Powell. He's going to be there teaching us all that. He's got his own method built in too, where he's got a nice drum out and it's super shamanic, where he's got a drum beat going. He'll teach you all the breath work. Then you get in the cold and you breathe it out. You breathe it out. It's super invigorating, great stuff. So, I mean, there's a ton of science behind this stuff, and it's a great thing. So we're going to do that down in February, and then we're going to mix that in with Owen Hunt, who's a Napoleon Hill, outwitting the devil kind of workshop coach who teaches you how to get the best out of your life, get out of the drift, make sure you're one of the 2% of people that are taking their own life into their own hands instead of just being caught up in it. And then we've got a magician to teach us some hermetic stuff like that, some Rosicrucian stuff like that. And it's
I'm all about that action.
Weekend. Yeah.
I'm all about all this, dude. I'm all about all
We'll
that.
have to get you out to one of these.
I have to, dude. I have to get out. I have to see what you guys are doing. I want to do more of that stuff with us, what we do too. But everything is in time, man. Darren, I love
The world's
talking
a
to you.
fucking mess.
Man, I think the world on the screen is a mess. I think chaos could be coming more and more, but I have hope, man. I just have hope upon hope. I want to clarify my what I'm saying about cops. I just want everybody to know this. I'm very clear in my thing. Good cops, good people. Bad cops, fuck them. And that's what I'm talking about. And if you watch around the world, man. When the government comes to crack skulls, it is the form of riot police. Always. That's what I'm talking about, defunding. Good cops who are like, I'm not going to push illegal laws. Love you. Support you. Join us, because when we get rid of these scumbags, you'll get your job back and you'll make your money. You're going to get your money, man. You're going to get your money. You just got to be on the side of what is right. That's it, man. Cracking people's skulls for a fucking paycheck when you know what you're doing's wrong? You're a brown shirt. Okay? That's who I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the good ones. I'm not talking about your brother or your husband or your friend or you if you're I'm talking about the ones who think it's okay to crack the skulls of their brothers and sisters and their sons and their daughters. That's who I'm talking about. Okay? If you're a riot fucking cop and you're going to fucking break the spirits of people who are fighting for your rights and your kids' rights, you are part of the problem. And it's not about a check. It's about you have issues from childhood that you think that it's okay to do violence against people who are fighting for fucking freedom. And that's who I'm talking about. So don't get me on this shit that, anti-cop. I'm not, dude. I'm anti-scumbag. And if you're cracking skulls and you're beating up people because some fucking suit in an administration tells you to do it, you're a scumbag. You're a brown shirt. If you come walk with us and we push back, guess what? These fucking administrators run because they know their head's coming on a guillotine if they don't fucking listen to us. We gotta push back, man. This notion, authority is an illusion. Go to 7-Eleven and see the old Mexican guy. That guy's only there as a mannequin. He's a scarecrow to scare off people that think I might do. They're security. I can't do it.
He's there to call the cops. Is what
or like when we did the march. Remember, we were yelling at cops. Everybody was yelling at cops. The second it was 3:00, it was supposed to be over. And right after that, thank you, sir. Thank you. They were just doing their job. They're not finding. But it's one of those things where they just got to do their job. But once you start giving out tickets and
once you start cracking people's skulls,
that's when it's like you're doing way
done.
more than
Bye-bye. Bing, bang. Take care. Darren, where can they find you?
Grimerica.ca for the podcast. GrimericaOutlaw.ca for the other podcast. A CanadianShame.ca for the book, or you can just find it on Amazon. That's probably the easiest way. AdultBrain.ca for all the audiobooks we've been doing. That's been a major project of ours lately, is republishing a bunch of old esoteric classics to make them available as audiobooks. Titles that weren't previously available as audiobooks. Like the Unabomber Manifesto. We got ISIS Unveiled, Volume 1. Working on Volume 2 right now. We got
God, I want to talk to Unabomber so badly, dude.
I know. I've been trying. You got to mail him a letter. If you're lucky, that would be the only way
I want to.
I can find.
So,
what would you tell him?
People that did mail him a letter and got correspondence. And then we did like Secret Teachings of All Ages, Hamlet's Mill. I mean, we've done about 25 different audiobooks now. If you just go over to wherever you get your audiobooks and type Graham Dunlop.
What would I tell him, dude? I'd be like, dude, we made a shirt about you.
That's what I was going to tell you. We think you could send him a shirt?
Yeah, I'll send him a shirt, dude. Be like, what up, son?
We released his manifesto as a podcast as well. But yeah, if you just go to adultbrain.ca, that's all the audiobooks we've been doing. And all that stuff helps keep us going.
Well, guys, great episode. Great way to kick off the 500th episode week. 500 episodes of Tinfoil Hat. We're hurling towards it, and I'm glad we could have Darren on to join us in our week of celebrations. Go check out all the links for his show are in the description. Go support them. They're fighting the fight. Check out his book, and I love you all. Hope to see you in Las Vegas.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hat.